Tribal rivalry in Africa, unveiling the layers of complex relations. Historical context of tribal rivalries in Africa. 1. Understanding the tribal system in pre-colonial Africa. In the old days, pre-colonial Africa was a vibrant mosaic of tribal systems. Each tribe had distinct customs, territories, and social norms, essentially their own little universes within a vast continent. From the Zulu in the south to the Fulani in the west, these societies depended heavily on the tribal code for order and identity. Collaboration, trade, and marriage defined relationships despite conflicts. 2. Impact and implications of the colonization period. Then came the era of colonization, and boy oh boy did it toss a wrench into the delicate machinery of tribal relations. The scramble for Africa by European powers divided the continent with complete disregard for the existing tribal boundaries. The result? Arbitrary grouping caused decades of tribal tension and conflict. Picture being shoved into a room with a stranger and told, "Right, you two are roommates now." Awkward. 3. Post-colonial era, retracing the deepening of tribal conflicts. Fast forward to the post-colonial era, and the dust has far from settled. As African nations struggled to find their feet, the scars of colonization manifested in deepening tribal conflicts. Imagine sharing a house with an incompatible roommate, with no boundary drawn over who should control the TV remote. No Game of Thrones episode is worth that, right? 4. Major tribal rivalries in Africa and their stakes. 5. The Hutu-Tutsi conflict in Rwanda, a grim example. The Hutu-T tangle, instead, is a stark reminder of how bad things can get. The tangled history started in the pre-colonial era, got aggravated by the Belgian colonizers who favored the minority Tutsi, and exploded into the 1994 genocide. In 100 days, approximately 800,000 Tutsis paid a heavy price for historical disputes and political manipulation. 6. The Somali clan warfare and ongoing struggle. Somalia is the ultimate soap opera of tribal conflicts masquerading as a country. 7. The rivalry between the Zulu and Xhosa in South Africa. Lessons from history. The Zulu and Xhosa? Now that's a rivalry that could give Romeo and Juliet's families a run for their money. Historically, their fights centered around grazing rights, land claims, and cattle theft. Fast forward a couple of centuries, and politics has emerged as the new grounds for this rivalry. Look at the bright side. Their political showdowns are generally more about ballot boxes than battles, right? 8. Socioeconomic factors fueling tribal rivalries. 9. Resource scarcity and competition, a root of discord. It's no secret that resources in Africa are scarce, and by help I mean more than just precious stones and minerals. We're talking about access to water, fertile soil, fishing waters, things that generally keep you alive. Naturally, the resulting competition can make tribes see each other as rivals. After all, when the well runs dry, neighborly love is the first casualty. Now, social segregation, inequality, and poverty, catalysts for conflict. Social segregation and inequality have actual real-world consequences. Shocker, right? In Africa, tribes not only represent cultural or ethnic groupings, but also economic classes and social hierarchies. The unequal distribution of resources and opportunities exacerbates these differences and often stokes the fire of conflict. Think of it like a giant continent-wide game of Monopoly where the dice are impossibly biased, and Park Place keeps getting more elusive. 11. Homogeneity versus heterogeneity. Does it matter? Here's a brain tickler for you. Does it help to be the same, or is diversity the spice of life? When it comes to tribal rivalries, the jury's still out. Some argue that homogeneous communities are more peaceful. Others claim that if managed well, heterogeneous societies can be extremely vibrant and creative. I reckon it's like chutney versus salsa. Both are delicious, but the key is knowing how to mix the ingredients. 12. Political exploitation of tribal differences. 13. The role of divide and rule politics. Divide and rule. The oldest trick in the book, and the one politicians seem to love the most. Nowhere is this more evident than in Africa, where leaders often invoke tribal sentiments to consolidate power. Remember the Hutu-Tutsi debacle? Yeah, that's what happens when politicians play the tribal card. 14. Tribalism in election campaigns and power struggles. Speaking of elections, they are often more about tribal loyalties than actual policies. Candidates exploit tribal sentiments to attract votes. I mean, if you can't wow the crowd with well-thought-out plans for the economy, why not just play into their tribal beliefs, right? It's not like anything awful could happen. Cough, Rwanda, cough. 15. The impact of government policies and responses on tribal relations. Case in point, the Somali government is failing to curb clan rivalries. No points for guessing how that turned out. V. Potential solutions and path forward. Education and eradicating illiteracy. A road to understanding. Education, my friends, is a magical unicorn that can solve many problems. It's neither a quick fix nor a band-aid solution, but a long-term investment that can create a population well aware of each other's customs, cultures, and values. It's not about becoming a homogeneous blob, but about embracing diversity, adopting inclusive government policies, an instrument of peace. Government policies can also be a powerful tool for fostering peace and unity. It's about time politicians stop playing Jenga with the people's lives and make policies that cater to all communities. Fair distribution of resources and equal opportunities for all tribes. Sounds like a dream, right? Even dreams come true sometimes. Unity in diversity, embracing culture in the path to reconciliation. There's strength in diversity. It's a fact, not a fairy tale. We create a rich, vibrant, and genuinely harmonious society by celebrating our differences rather than discriminating based on them. So let's trade in our tribal rivalries for cultural exchanges, shall we? Summary and conclusion. In a nutshell, Africa's tribal rivalries are a complex cocktail of historical factors, socio-economic disparities, and political manipulation. By understanding these dynamics and addressing them head-on, there is hope for harmonious coexistence among the diverse tribes of Africa. After all, life's too short for grudges, even ones that run centuries deep. Frequently asked questions. Question 1. What was the tribal setup in Africa before colonization? Each African tribe had distinct customs, rules, and territories in a pre-colonial setup. The tribes coexisted on principles of cooperation, exchange, and intermarriage. Question 2. How have tribal rivalries impacted stability in African countries? Tribal rivalries have destabilized the social, political, and economic landscape. Frequent conflicts impede development, impoverish populations, and damage the fabric of society. Question 3. How does resource scarcity contribute to tribal conflicts? When resources like water, farmland, and fishing areas are scarce, competition to control them intensifies, leading to conflicts. Question 4. How does politics contribute to or help resolve tribal rivalries? Politics often exploit tribal sentiments to secure votes or consolidate power, leading to polarization. However, inclusive government policies can foster peace and unity. Question 5. How can African tribes reduce conflicts and increase unity? The focus should be on education, adopting inclusive government policies, and celebrating cultural diversity. Remember, folks, unity and diversity isn't just a catchy slogan, it's a way of life. Thank you for watching.